Reuben J. Rooster Cogburn is a fictional character who first appeared in the 1968 Charles Portis novel, True Grit. The novel was adapted into a 1969 film, True Grit, and from that a 1975 sequel entitled Rooster Cogburn was also produced. The character was also featured in a made-for-television sequel, entitled True Grit, A Further Adventure, made in 1978. The Coen brothers released a new film version of the novel in 2010. In the 1969 and 1975 theatrical releases, Cogburn was portrayed by John Wayne. Cogburn is portrayed as an anti-hero, which was an unusual role for Wayne, who usually played a straight-laced hero. The 1978 TV sequel starred Warren Oates in the featured role. The 2010 film stars Jeff Bridges as Cogburn. John Wayne won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his role as Cogburn in the 1969 film. On January 24, 2011, Jeff Bridges was nominated for the same award for his portrayal of Cogburn. Fictional character biography. Reuben Cogburn was born on July 15, 1825. Cogburn was a veteran of the American Civil War who served under Confederate guerrilla leader William Quantrill, where he lost his eye. He was twice married, first to an Illinois woman who left him to return to her first husband after bearing Cogburn a single, extremely clumsy son, Horace, and second to a Texas woman who wanted him to be a lawyer. Cogburn is described as a fearless, one-eyed U.S. Marshal who never knew a dry day in his life. He was the toughest marshal working the Indian Territory on behalf of Judge Isaac Parker, the real-life judge of the United States District Court for the Western District of Arkansas. Cogburn shot a total of 64 men in 8 years, killing 60. He killed 23 in 4 years and 60 by 8, all of whom he claimed to have killed in self-defense, in the line of duty, or fleeing justice. In the 1969 film, Cogburn helped a headstrong 14-year-old girl, named Mattie Ross, along with Texas Ranger La Beauouf, to track down Tom Chaney, the man who drunkenly killed her father. In the sequel, he teamed up with elderly spinster Eula Goodnight and an Indian boy named Wolf while on the trail of the desperado, Hawk, who had stolen a shipment of nitroglycerin from the U.S. Army and killed family members of both Goodnight and Wolf. Cogburn lived in Fort Smith, Arkansas in the back of a Chinese dry goods store, along with the proprietor, his friend and gambling buddy Chen Li, and an orange tubby cat named after Confederate General Sterling Price for his entire life as a marshal. In the 2010 film, while Cogburn demonstrated a ruthless attitude towards the criminals and fugitives he pursued, he was generally very fair with Mattie and was shown to have a distaste for what he viewed as unnecessary cruelty. When La Beauouf is birching Mattie for her refusal to return to Fort Smith, Cogburn demanded that he stop, and drew his pistol in threat to make La Beauouf stop. Later in the film, when Cogburn and Mattie witness 2 children caning a mule with sharpened sticks, Cogburn quickly intervened, cutting the mule loose and roughly throwing the 2 children onto the ground in retaliation. After Mattie was snake-bitten, he rode through the night, holding her, in order to get her medical care. When the horse collapsed, he mercy-killed it with his revolver and then carried her a long distance in his arms to get her to a doctor, both saving her life and proving he really had the true grit Mattie thought he did. Cogburn's relationship with La Beauouf was strained throughout the film, with the two arguing frequently. Cogburn often made light of the Texas Rangers, much to La Beauouf's outrage, and irritatedly criticized La Beauouf's tendency to talk long-windedly. Likewise, La Beauouf patronized Cogburn for being an ineffective drunk who routinely relents to Mattie's stubbornness. Their greatest point of contention came during an argument about their military service during the American Civil War, during which Cogburn ended their agreement of splitting the reward on Tom Chaney when they brought him back to Texas when La Beauouf insulted Captain Quantrill. He did, however, thank La Beauouf for saving his life when Lucky Ned Pepper was about to kill him and said he was in his debt before leaving with the snake-bitten Mattie and promising to send help back. In both True Grit films, Cogburn confessed to having robbed something after the war before becoming a marshal, a bank in his youth in the 2010 film, and a federal paymaster in the 1969. He spoke admiringly of Quantrill, with whom he served during the Civil War. 25 years after the Tom Chaney hunt, Cogburn wrote Mattie Ross a letter with a flyer enclosed saying he was traveling with a Wild West show and asked if she would like to come visit him when the show came to Memphis and swap stories with an old trail mate. He said he would understand if the journey were too long. Unfortunately, Cogburn died 3 days before she arrived while the show was still in Arkansas and was buried there in a Confederate cemetery in Jonesboro, Arkansas. When Mattie arrived in Memphis and learned of his death, she had his body removed to her family farm plot in Yell County, Arkansas, and has visited it over the years. His gravestone shows his full name to be Reuben Cogburn, a fact which he gave freely in the 2010 version of the film. References. External links: Rooster Cogburn at the Internet Movie Database.